Hi, Susan Leahy here from RobertsRulesMadeSimple.com, coming to you with another episode of Robert's Rules Revealed. Today, we're going to talk about cleaning up messy meetings with Mr. Parliamentarian himself, Jim Stuart. Now, before you leave, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode of Robert's Rules Revealed. All right, so excited about today's Robert's Rules Revealed. Jim, how are you doing?
Good, Susan. How are things going with you?
I'm doing great. It's always fun to have Mr. Parliamentarian here. We're going to be talking about a fun topic today, how to take the dis out of dysfunctional meetings. Most meetings, as I'm sure most of us will agree, are pretty dysfunctional. So Jim, why don't we just start with kind of where you see some of the most common dysfunctions you see of meetings?
Well, one of them is people who think they know how parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rules works, and they don't. They learned it by watching somebody who learned it by watching somebody who learned it by watching somebody who didn't know it in the first place. Or worse yet, they learn it off C-SPAN.
Right.
The government, the legislatures, they write their own rules. They're not using Roberts.
They're not using
Roberts. And what they do doesn't apply to anybody but them. So people try to apply those techniques. You know, you can't, filibuster only works in the United States Senate. You can't do it anywhere else.
You can't do it anywhere else.
You can't pass your time off to anybody anywhere else except in the House and the Senate. Those things aren't in Roberts. So people try to apply those rules.
Have you ever, and very, very common that I see people who've watched too many episodes of like Law and Order, and they're in their meetings and they're like, objection! And I sit there and I think, well, what was sustained? But we're not in a court of law right now, right? So that's a big dysfunction. So they're trying to apply some of what you're seeing in the government or on TV into their meetings, and that's not really the right process, right? So big dysfunctions. Anything else that you see as being dysfunctions in meetings?
A lot of it is improper usage of various motions or other things. And that causes problems elsewhere because it then throws you off the system. For example, one of my clients had somebody whose favorite phrase was, point of order, I move that. And of course you can't do that. You can't use point of order just to get the attention of the chair. That's supposed to be to call attention to a fault. Or the person who thinks that time limits cannot be imposed on them. They can on everybody else, but not on them, because they're special. Because I'm special. That's right. That's right. Or the people who use something like point of information in order to actually debate. Right. Point of information is not, I want to give you information. It's, I'm requesting information. And actually, they changed that in the 11th edition of Roberts, which is good. The phrase is not point of information anymore. It's now request for information. Because that's what it's supposed to be, is a request you're asking. And so all of what I'm hearing you say with respect to dysfunctional meetings comes a lot from the fact that people aren't really understanding or have a clear understanding of the process that they're using in their meetings. So what do you do when you're working, because I know that you do lots of trainings, lots of workshops, lots of seminars. Now, what do you do in order to kind of put the, take the dis out of dysfunctional and really get these meetings to be high functioning? Well, the first thing I want to do is try to do a training when I first come on, when I first take on a new client. I really encourage them to let me do a training, particularly if they haven't had a parliamentarian before. Now, sometimes they've had a parliamentarian, they know process, so I don't have to do that. But if they haven't ever used a parliamentarian before, then I try to do a training, and I emphasize in the training, this is what you may have thought you knew, but guess what? That's not right. And we go over some of these things that people commonly get wrong. And then I also, at least for the first several meetings that people use me, I try to have them give me a few minutes at the beginning of each meeting, if this is for regularly scheduled meetings, monthly or whatever, that allows me to go over some things that happened at the last meeting that could have been done better. Not necessarily that they were wrong or they were not according to procedure, but they could have been done better. I love what you're talking about, because this is one of those things that people don't do, is that their meetings have to become a learning environment, and we have to start looking at, well, what are we doing in our meetings, and is it working well? If it's not
we've got to talk about it and think about how we can improve on it. Dysfunction happens because we're just repeating behavior that we've been doing from this meeting to that meeting to that meeting, and we haven't been analyzing it. So I think it's so smart that within your trainings, you're creating a space for people to analyze their behavior. First, learn the skill, and then analyze how they're using the skill. And also find training programs like the Roberts Rules Made Simple solution, or have a parliamentarian come in like Mr. Parliamentarian, and really start focusing on that the goal is function. So I want to thank you for taking some time with us today to talk about how to get rid of the dys in dysfunctional meetings. Thanks so much, Jim.